I am here with Addison Roberts, here for the NFC Playoff Picks Spectacular for the Mikey Report Wildcard Round. Unfortunately, he is unable to be with us on Saturday, so we are taking his picks and analysis now. We're going to run down the lineup, starting with the Saints and the Seahawks. Seahawks at 7-9, and the Saints ending 11-5 with that fifth seed. So what do you think about that? I'm assuming you're going with the Saints, but
the Saints are 11.5-point road favorites in this game, meaning that they're heavily favored. For a road team to be favored at all says something. For them to be that much favored says a lot. So what I think is going to happen is I think the Saints are going to be all over them. I think they score early and often. This Seahawks team, they didn't beat really any good teams. They had a couple random upsets and stuff like that. Unless something like that were to happen, a surprise upset, I think the Saints win this one pretty handedly.
Yeah, the Saints are going to have some trouble with their running game because both Chris Ivory and Pierre Thomas are out for this game.
Then there's the famous 12th man at Seattle. It's the first 11 that are concerned, though.
Yeah. So we pretty much have Saints winning that one. I think that'll be across the board on everyone.
I think Saints win by 14 or more. So, look for them to win by, I think, at least 14, if not more.
And now we go to the AFC, which is Game 2 on the docket of the wildcard rounds. 8 o'clock on NBC is the Jets and Colts.
I like the Colts in this one. I think there's a 2.5-point line. What a 2.5-point line is, for those of you who don't know, is Vegas sets a line for who they expect to win the game, and they'll the current favorite in this game is the Colts, giving them 2.5 points. And what that means is if the Colts were to win or win by less than 2.5 points, if the Colts were to win by any amount other than less than 2.5 points, anybody who picked the Colts with the spread would win. But if they were to win by less than 2.5 points, they won't have covered the spread. So that basically says they're not expecting the Colts to win by a lot, but they are expecting them to win. And 2.5, unless you have a safety, they're going to cover that number. So it's different from, let's say a 3-point favorite or similar, and that has to do with how much they pay out for a correct or incorrect pick. I'm not sure if my explanation on that's rock solid, but that's more or less what it means. Colts, I think, win this one on basically experience. They outshoot them. The Jets' running game isn't what it was a year ago, so they don't have that to go to, and they kind of rode that to the AFC Championship last year. A strong running game, a strong defense. Mark Sanchez didn't have to do a lot, and he has to make a lot more plays right now, and I think the Colts just win on experience. The Colts have been business-minded the last 5 weeks of the season, is going out doing work, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to go out, they're going to do their work.
Now, you mentioned the Jets and the running game. They lost Thomas Jones to actually the next game that we'll be covering. Also, they picked up Santonio Holmes, who has been clutch for the Jets, but I don't think, and they have Jericho Cotchery, but neither of them have really done much to compensate, like you said, for a Jets victory over the Colts. So pretty much a lot of people, I believe, are picking Colts on this one. Our next game, the second AFC matchup, is Ravens and Chiefs, who I mentioned Thomas Jones being with now, and against that Raven D. That's going to be a tough one for them.
Right, exactly. And as far as a number on the Colts, I like the Colts by 7 probably in that game. And then as far as Ravens Chiefs, and I mentioned the favorite thing. Ravens are favorites on the road. I think the Ravens are going to be all over them here. The Chiefs have ridden Jamal Jackson this year.
Jamal Charles.
They've ridden Jamal Charles this year. The Ravens should be able to shut that down and force them to go to the pass. Dwayne Bowe is a big 6'5", heavy wide receiver coming across the middle, but that's not. And I mean, he's been a actually a big fantasy pickup this year because he's been putting up numbers.
Yeah.
But I just don't think. I think the Ravens have this one by a pretty good amount, maybe 14.
Yeah, as long as Flacco can hit Todd Heap and some of the other big guys on that team, and also with a stellar defense with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
And aging defense, but Ed Reed should be
aging, but still.
The thing is what they'll do is they'll stop Jamal Charles and they'll force Matt Castle to make plays, and he can't yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not with the offense that surrounds him, or not in general, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. And the final game of this weekend, a big one for you, as
right.
you won some tickets from local radio station here. Packers and Eagles. Both with great offenses. In my opinion, Packers with Aaron Rodgers, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, and Eagles with Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson, and Jeremy Maclin, along with LaShawn McCoy with their running game as well.
Right. If the Eagles are going to win this one, they have to go to the run a little bit more, and that's not Andy Reid's style. Andy Reid has always been a pass first type of guy, and he's kind of stubborn. So I think if the Eagles are going to win, LaShawn McCoy is going to need to have 23 carries. He had 13 2 weeks ago against the Vikings, and he did well with them, for those of you who saw the Tuesday Night Spectacular. But if he did well with those carries. Basically, one of the swing cards on the Packers defense is when the Eagles drop back to pass, you're going to see the defenseman, what's his name? Old guy. Greg Jennings? No, not Greg's receiver. Who's one of their slot corners. I'm trying to think of it.
I can't remember.
Their starting corner. He's like, he played against them last year. But what they'll do is they'll bring that same slot corner blitz that the Vikings use so well against the Eagles. But what they'll do is they'll come in, and he probably won't go straight for the quarterback. Instead, he'll probably come in and kind of play a zone off the inside backfield of Michael Vick, and they'll probably bring that from his left side to try to force him to go to his right. And that kind of cuts down the quick screen he would need to throw across his body to hit LaShawn McCoy on a screen, and and he'll use his instincts, try to get his hands on the ball. I think it's going to be a closely contested game, 3 points either way. Because I'll pick the Eagles by 3. I don't think we're going to see a lot of. We'll see a couple explosive plays, but I think it's going to turn on a defensive play.
Yeah, we saw that second miracle in the Meadowlands with that against the Giants. So
but with the exception of that, the Eagles have played 7 quarters of bad football. They've played 7.5 quarters of awful football, and then one and a half quarter of perfect football. So it depends what team shows up.
Yeah, it definitely does, and like you said, it is definitely going to be a closely contested game with both offenses being good and both defenses not being the greatest, but still capable of doing stuff.
Right. Well, the Packers have that guy Clay Matthews, who's gonna. He's a good linebacker. He's he has good instincts, and like I said, they're going to be playing that screen well. So really, just it's going to come down to whether or not the Eagles are Michael Vick good. If Michael Vick has a good game, the Eagles win games. If not, they don't.
And I think I saw something on either ESPN or NFL Network, I don't remember which one, about McCoy needing probably, I think, whenever he gets like 100 yards or more rushing, that's when they win or something.
Right. Well, because they need to learn to pass the ball. They need to learn to rush the ball first, and that's never been the type of offense Andy Reid runs. He runs like short passes and screens, kind of like a hybrid West Coast offense. Who knows? Obviously, I hope they win. I'm going to be in the building, freezing my butt off. So I hope that's not for no reason.
Yeah, hopefully you come back with a happy face and not a sad one.
Right, exactly.
I think we'll all know when you get back
what happened, whether or not
what happened if we don't watch on Sunday afternoon at 4:30 on Fox.
Right. So I like Saints by 14, Colts by 3, Ravens by 7, and then the Eagles by 3 is where I'd go with that.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Addison. Hopefully we'll definitely see you for the divisional round of the NFL Playoff Pick Spectacular, which will hopefully happen sometime on Thursday night. I'm not exactly sure when, but I'll discuss with Addison and Tim Lateef, who will be on Saturday afternoon with myself. So you guys don't want to miss it. Thank you for tuning in to our special edition of the Mikey Report. I'm Mikey Edwards saying, see ya.
All right, thanks, Mike.